All right, this is Adam Ballinger, and it's good to see you again. I'm doing a little follow-up to some seminar questions and a seminar topic that came up. And we had a question about classical yoga and how that influences our practices today. And one of the things that comes up, oftentimes it's a shocker for folks, is the idea of modern day yoga where we try to bring our mind and our body and our heart together and working order together, and we celebrate them and we do all this wonderful stuff. But that's not what a lot of classical yoga is about. If you look deep into the philosophy and the workings and things like that, even in some of the traits of classical Buddhism, a lot of the classical point of view is that there is a lot of natural suffering that's going on, and it comes from a philosophical explanation of our connection to our bodies and the things around us and nature. If you read through Patanjali, which is a common training book, you might remember the words Purusha and Prakriti, one kind of being a spiritual essence and the other being more of a physical essence. Now, these two things in this area of philosophy are essentially more separate than together. The work in the yoga that's more related to this philosophy is not to bring the two together, it's to separate from that body stuff. So the way this influences a yoga practice is that if you're in your body and you're doing a yoga pose and there's a lot of pain and discomfort, in some classes you may have even heard, like this joint, if it hurts, it's supposed to. And there's kind of a promotion that pain is the normal thing that's going to go on there. And so when that gets intense, do your breath. Focus on your breath. Pay attention to your breath. Take your attention away from the body and more to the breath. And separate from this source of suffering, the body. This is a tough thing for me, especially teaching a lot about the body and trying to bring our mind-body connection together. Because essentially taking your awareness and attention away from the body, and by this I'm implying more of the orthopedic bone, joint, muscle, connective tissue stuff, and taking it somewhere else as we're doing a very body-oriented practice, leaves the body kind of out there to its own to kind of suffer at whatever's going on with movement patterns and gravity. If your attention isn't on what's happening in your body, and I don't mean just listening for pain. Pain is a very late message when it comes to your body stuff. But paying attention to how your body is moving. Where is it moving awkwardly or too far or too little or too much? These are the places, at least for your body, mind-body connection. This is where your mind can step in and really help bring balance to issues that are exhibiting themselves through the body. If your attention is elsewhere, you're going to be ignoring the body. That is a mind over body exercise or a mind over body path. Now, it's hard to summarize all yoga, and there's a lot of different influences. But if you look and you see a picture of a yoga ascetic or a yogi or a sadhu, and he has his arm raised up in the air and the hand is looking almost putrefied, I think that's the right word, that it looks frozen and somewhat mangled. It's been up there so long that the blood flow has begun to deteriorate and the hand is essentially kind of frozen. And his arm has been up so long, he essentially has an upright, frozen shoulder, and the elbow even becomes frozen. Or you see a yogi who has fasted so long that his body is withered away. Or you see a yogi type person who is walking on coals or laying on a bed of nails or things like that. These are mind over body. The pain and the experience that's going on in the body has been overcome by exercises of attention and focus, taking that attention and focus away from the body, away from worldly things. Whether you know it or not, this is a huge influence in most, this is my argument anyway, most public yoga today. There are modern influences which have tried to bring a little bit of respect and balance to how we use the body. But if you're in there and somebody says, take your drishti over there, focus more on your breath, breathe through it, those instructions are very often removing your awareness from the body. I agree that if there's an intense stretch and the body is set up in a healthy way, breathing is a great way to soften the nervous system reaction to the stress of the stretch, and that could help. But then you have to argue or find out whether or not the position of the body was really healthy, and whether or not you breathed yourself into a body position or alignment that wasn't healthy for the body anyway. So, to answer the question, why do we get, or where do we get a lot of this breath work? The breath and pranayama is a very classic concept for centering and meditation that's been integrated into asana practice. And when there is stress or disturbance or things that would occupy your mind in a kind of a distracting way, the breath has classically been used to nullify that or to bring calmness to it. So from our classical or more classical perspective of yoga, your body being this area where there's a lot of suffering, and you might feel that while you practice, if you go to your breath, you can get your mind to not be bothered by your body. An example that I gave in one of the trainings or in a session with a bunch of students was, if you were raising a child, you could also make this example between partners as well. But if you were raising a child and the child started screaming in dire pain, and you decided, well, I'm just going to go to my breath, and then I won't be bothered by that child screaming. That would be totally different than a parent going to the child to find out what had happened and how to rectify the situation, and potentially even teaching that child how to avoid that again. Going to your breath is sometimes separating from that other thing. There is a slight little caveat to that, where if there is a lot of stress, going to your breath to center your mind so you can reapply your mind to that issue is another conversation. So going to your breath solely is not a mind-body integrating thing. It is getting rid of the disturbance the body is imposing upon the mind. All right, so I hope that wasn't a little bit too long-winded. My recommendation is learn how to breathe well. Sometimes focus on your breath. And definitely, if you are doing your asana practice to help your body, make sure you don't ignore it. Pain is a late message. So learn about how bodies are meant to move in a healthy way. If you're not studied up on that and you think that you know what's good for your body, it might do you some good to compare that with some studies or finding. And secondly, in my recommendations, learn what to pay attention for in your body. When a body part moves in a particular way, it may give you a lot of insight to what's going on, well before there's ever an injury or a slow building wear and tear on a joint that could lead to pain sometime later. All right, this is Adam Ballinger. I hope that helps, and I hope to see you soon.